All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Disc. I'm a title holder, Disc Priest from Season 1 of Dragonflight. Very proud of that. And my mission for this channel is to help anyone who's interested to learn Disc to also be your group's hero. This is a Mythic Plus channel primarily, but one of my goals here is to teach WoW in such a way that anyone can learn something from my videos. I know it's been a while since I have made a video, and I'm going to try and do this one kind of off the cuff and just train of thought as I can. The main way I approach teaching is just doing voiceovers of my own runs from Mythic Plus. This video, I don't think will quite follow that rubric. I'm not really sure how this video is going to go, but we're going to see. But that is the plan moving forward. I am pretty excited for Midnight. I've been playing beta. I think Discipline is in a really fun spot. I am playing Voidweaver, which I know will upset a lot of people, but suck it. That's about all I have to say for that. But I will say, moving forward, my channel, being that I do call myself a Discipline specialist, it will be covering Oracle and Voidweaver. So I have sampled both, and I'm just having so much fun with Voidweaver that that's where I've been spending my time. I also, this season, I don't believe I'm going to be pushing for title. It was not an environment that I really enjoyed being a part of. I do plan to play keys in the difficult realm, but I will not be pushing keys at that level. I don't think for me to teach Discipline in the way I would like to, I don't think it demands that I put myself through that kind of schedule or that kind of rigor. So expect to see high-level keys. I think that's where you can see a lot of the squish and how to min-max the spec. And again, you know, my mission here is to help people think outside the box, help people see Discipline through the lens that I see it through, and hopefully learn something. And that is my ask of anyone who watches my videos, is don't take anything I say as godsend. I hope you watch other people's videos as well. And at best, you know, I think it's a success if you watch someone's videos and find something you take away, just one thing. So don't take what I say as, being perfect. I don't claim to be perfect. I play WoW how I want. I play WoW for the experience, and I play WoW to have fun. And yeah, even doing it my way and not really following how other people do it, I've had a lot of proven success and a lot of fun doing it. So I hope to inspire anyone who comes back to watch my videos. I think a good plan for myself is to do weekly videos again, maybe 2 a week depending. And yeah, so mainly the way I start my videos is just tidbits of knowledge about what we're going to see coming up in the key. And I do like to keep my intros short. I know it's kind of a joke and a meme that I say that, but then end up talking for 15 minutes. So in the spirit of keeping things short, I just wanted to, give my intro, say hello to everyone. And the one tidbit of knowledge I wanted to give before we start the run is this macro that I've been using. And it's a macro that I used in the past. I'm sorry, let me say that again. It is a method I used in the past, but it was with weak Rs. So we no longer have weak Rs. Our UI is pretty much stripped bare, which is going to be a game changer for me as a teacher because a lot of my focus was UI, but I still think we can have a focus of UI. And throughout my videos, we'll talk about ways to optimize it so that you can become the best player that you can be. But yeah, we used to do it with weak Rs, but the best thing we can do with our Radiance, Powered Radiance, is cast it on the tank. And there were changes to it in the past where it's now a 40-yard spread. Makes it essentially an 80-yard range heal if you think about it. And I think it goes without saying, anytime you cast a Radiance, you want your entire party to be atoned. If you ever miss even one person, it's a miss. You want every time you cast a Radiance to hit the full party, and the best person to default your Radiance to will be the tank. So in the past, I had a weak R that would help me do that. These days, all you need really to do that is a macro. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass, but I have this macro here on the screen where I, right click the tank for the menu, copy their player name, and I input it into this macro at the start of every key. Not too big of a deal, in my opinion, and it's a game changer for how we approach healing. So Powered Radiance is a spell which you can cast on anyone. It's not just for yourself. But if you can make Radiance a spell which you just press rather than having the task of directing it on someone, it becomes part of your rotation and takes a lot of the labor out of the work. And so not to say that it isn't best to cast it on someone else sometimes, and I still have a way to do that through click casting. I can direct it on anyone I want, but by default, this macro will send it to the tank. And if I've not said it yet, if you're not catching on, it's because the tank is the one who's most likely always in range of the full party. So you want to Radiance the tank. And then the way I approach Radiance versus Evangelism is they're pretty much the same spell, one's just a modified version. Therefore, I cast them with the same keybinds with just different modifiers. So that's what this macro will do. I add a modifier to trigger my Evangelism. My Evangelism and my Radiance both will fire at the tank unless I do a mouse over, and then it will fire on who I want. So I think also before we start, I do want to keep this short, but I think I want to, let's flash talents and just show where I'm at, and then we can get into the key. All right, so I know this video is a little bit janky from the editing standpoint. I'm trying to make it a little easier on me today, but if anyone knows my videos, I do like to put a little bit of video editing in to make it more interesting from the viewer's perspective. But here we have the talents. So again, I'm playing Voidweaver, sue me. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. I'm doing a lot of damage compared to other healers, and I'm not having a problem keeping anyone up. I am only doing 15s thus far, but I'm not really sweating how I play because things are likely to change before the launch. But quickly, let's just do the priest side of things because that is, there's not really much to talk about over here. I'm playing Holy Nova. That's kind of just for fun. I know these are troll talents. They'll most likely be spent for Mass Dispel or maybe Disease Dispel. But I've been playing it just for fun. It's not much healing. It's not much damage. So those are likely to be reallocated, but I'm not taking this too seriously at the moment. And then over on the Discipline side, this is where I'm just trying to have a little fun with it. And again, I don't know everything about the spec, but I do have a pretty good grasp on how things work. But, as I'm showing up here trying to teach anyone who's watching something, please teach me something. If I say something wrong, let me know. If you have a different opinion than me, let me know. But these are just my opinions. This is a channel that kind of works alongside my passion with playing WoW. This is just a channel that chronicles my experience and shares how I think about the gameplay. So yeah, anyway, okay, so over here on the Discipline side, call me troll if you want to, but kind of the way I see it here is because of our Void Shield, which is very powerful. This is something we need to play pretty much anytime we see a proc. Because we have this Void Shield, I think it is prudent for us to continue playing Harsh Discipline and Wheel and Woe. We really need all of these penance bolts to power this shield, because to the best of my knowledge, a Wheel and Woe empowers all three of these. So correct me if I'm wrong. But that being said, this is more of a penance forward build. So I banked into Blaze of Light and Evangelism as well. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I think it has a really good niche in our spellbook. I kind of do miss Rapture how it used to be, but this is a-okay if you ask me. But so, something else I want to say before I continue with my synopsis here is when I'm looking at the damage overall at the end of a key, our dots are excelling even beyond the Rift. Our dots are weighted so heavily now, which is why I've banked extra talents into them. So, yeah, I think there's a talent over here, Painful invocation, and then I've also put 2 here. Our dots are just massive. So I've banked into our dots, and I've also then banked into expiation. So this one, time will tell, but I put 1 of 2 here, and I've sacrificed Master the Darkness. So my thought was, I'm getting either 3 or 6% increase here, whereas going to Blaze of Light instead gives me 15% increase on 2 of our most useful spells. It's coming from the Void Blast, which is our Smite, and Penance. So again, I banked into Penance. I banked further into our Penance, and I have 1 point in expiation, and I kind of counter that with Painful Punishment. So I'm having a lot of fun with this. The combo of that, the Painful Punishment and 1 point of expiation, kind of negate each other, and I really don't notice that I'm eating up my dots. But the expiation does return as a heal, and we have this really nice talent where our deaths hit 2 extra times. So we're eating up a lot of our dots, which are already weighted heavily. And it's all about the Shadow Fiend and the Inescapable Torment still for this type of build. It is, it's kind of hard to tell, I missed details, but our Torments are still coming out ahead on damage for everything. And it just kind of demands that your rotation is a little different. You kind of have to favor death before your penance a lot of times. You still have to be skilled with finding and catching executes because it's a proc chance. But there's some interesting plays with how our hero talents work. So after our void collapses, we proc a free Mindbender for 5 seconds. So like anticipating this free Mindbender appearing, we kind of have to hold our Shadow Word Death so that it's not on cooldown when we have the free Mindbender. And I think you'll see when we get to the key, there's really not too much to it, but there is a point of no return. You kind of have to, you can play your death early in your rotation, but you have to hold your death if it's too late in your rotation. And that's because you want your death with your free pet that comes after the collapse. So that might have sounded like a mouthful, kind of was, but something I find fun with the Voidweaver over Oracle is it still retains some of the complexity. So we've lost a lot of our buttons. I think everyone knows that by now, even if you're not in beta. Our Mindbender and our pet altogether is passive. But I think it feels good. I don't really think, those type of sentences really hold much weight, how something feels. But casting our pet was a dead global in the past. It was everything that happened after that cast that was important. So losing the pet, I think in and of itself reduces a lot of the friction and lets you just kind of do what you need to do. And being that Discipline had a lot of its purges years ago, going into Midnight, it doesn't feel too different. We mainly just lost the dead global of casting the pet. But I think that's all I want to say here. Let me know your thoughts on all of this. Again, I do plan to cover Oracle as well for those who are playing Oracle. But yeah, let's take all that with a grain of salt. Let me know your thoughts on everything so far. And let's clip over to the key. All right, so here we are at the start of the key. You can see me editing my heal macro for the tank. And if anyone's wondering, for add-ons, I'm using Better Blizz frames and Better Blizz plates. Kind of hard to say. But they're kind of falling behind the competitors at this moment. So I think time will tell what I'll be using in Midnight. But we recently had a feature added where you can color nameplates of mobs based on their category, which I think will be invaluable. And at the moment, Better Blizz Plates does not have that feature. But I'm using pretty much default. Better Blizz Plates is basically default. Better Blizz Frames is basically default, just with options. And yeah, kind of the main reason I'm deciding to play in Midnight is Discipline, for once, has wings. So really nice with Evangelism. You get to wear these wings. But let's see, what else to talk about here? So I think I kind of was shocked that, yeah, I guess I'm still kind of shocked that Blizzard went the route of this cooldown manager in place of your cooldowns. It's kind of no different than in the past when people would use weak Rs in place of their cooldowns. It just doesn't really make sense to me. So my encouragement to anyone going into midnight is just use your cooldowns to track your cooldowns. So if you see mine in the center, it looks just like they used to in the past. This is done with dominoes. It's the add-on I've always used. It is incredibly customizable. You can change the size of the bars, position of the bars, and you don't have to have any redundancies on your screen. So instead of having an image displaying the cooldown and then your cooldown below, I'd call that a redundancy, having two of the same icon. Just have one. Keybind them, design them how you like, and just watch your cooldowns for your cooldowns. Okay, here we go. So I have not previewed this. Usually I preview, but I'm trying to kind of save a little bit of time today. So let's just see how it goes. This is a 15. I think we're getting in the realm of really feeling a key, but it's not necessarily full out yet. I know people are, running 18, 19s, and 20s already. Let's see, what else here? So I really miss being able to track my atonement with a color on the frames. I think I heard that might be coming back, so we will see. I hope it comes back. But opening here, since I am playing Holy Nova, a couple things I'm thinking is we have to play the Rift literally just on cooldown. And I think that's kind of a rule of thumb always anyway. Yeah, so I fade on the Rip. I'm waiting for the Gather for the Holy Nova. We only get one per 30 seconds. I get the Rift out as soon as I can. PI's out. Nova's out. Rift is out. And so something I learned is that the Rift can only ever take 10 penance bolts, and it maxes out its size and capacity. Mainly what that means is while the Rift is out, you just want to cast 2 penance. So watch now that the Rift is about to expire. Here's my free pet. I've backloaded Death and my penance, so you get 2 torments there. But the really nice thing about how this works is that there are many situations where you can have 2 pets out at once. I've actually even seen 4 pets out at once. So I think it's really fun. I think it's like kind of exhilarating. And I'm still getting used to the rotation of kind of banking Death. There is a point of no return. If you play your Death too late in your Rift's rotation, it won't be up in time before that free pet expires. And if you're totally new to Discipline, torments come from the Mind Blast, the Penance, and the Death. So the Mind Blast Torment, there is only one of those, but you have multiple torments from the Penance and Death. And since I'm playing Expiation, I do work in Death into my rotation early, just making sure I'm getting that value. And also I'll just say I don't know these fights perfectly yet, but I thought this might be a good video to start with because a lot of us should have familiarity. Let's see, I have my evangelism up too. Here's our branch, very important to kill that. That is the mechanic. And it might have been since this video. I think this video was a little bit later last week, or late last week, or I don't know what I'm saying. But I look at evangelism as a DPS spell. Obviously it has more uses than that, but it looks like I'm not playing it here. So that's one critique to myself. 2 pets out right now, getting double the torments. Yeah, so basically what I'd have to watch myself back. You can check me if you want, but the major first pull, what I would have liked to have done is cast my evangelism as the true opener, then the Mind Blast, then the Penance, then the Death. And I might have done that. I don't know. Okay, but here comes the tree. Very important you attack it, even if you're the healer. Just play the mechanic. So we did lose our Schism, which is also kind of interesting. I used to use focus macroing to follow my Schism, so I still use focus macroing, but it's just there's no Schism. So I think the main thing you can do with focus macros as a Disc Priest, and please ask if you want more explanations on this, but there is generally a best mob to attack in a group, Oh yeah, we don't have a poison dispel here, so that's why I was laying that down. There's generally a best mob to attack in a group, so I still put my focus on that person. And the nice thing about that, you're not really going to see it here on a boss, but the nice thing about putting your focus on the best mob in a group is because I have my smite macroed to always funnel into my focus. And that's mainly for the Void Blast. Our Void Blast is a really strong hitter, so I kind of like it to be funneled into, you know, the thickest mob in a pull. Whereas I like my penance and my death to be a little bit more free-spirited. It is better to bounce those around. Penance is how we keep our dots alive. Death is best on executes. So those need to kind of be more free. Okay, it looks like here I played my evangelism early, just getting that value. And right there, if you were paying attention to my pets, I had 2 pets out at once with 2 executes by minding the rotation and just playing the Rift on cooldown. So one thing I am missing, I'm sure it'll come back, but the totems being hooked to the player frame, I've never liked that. I don't think it is the best placement for them. I really want them above my penance and my death spells. And I think that will come back. We just don't have a way to do it right now. I think here's an example where I played my death too late in the rotation. Yeah, so if you... Oh, no, I get it. So death, then penance. Favoring the death first, hoping to get that proc. Yeah, you kind of have to always favor the death first, because if you proc a pet, you want your penance available for its torment. So if you go penance death, you're sacrificing a potential torment. Okay, so here I think what I do, I get 3 dots out. Arguably, maybe should have only done 2 and straight into the Rift. Drop my Nova for the lulls. Something I've thought about is giving a video element to this of myself. I think that might help my videos be more interesting and more in line with what the community does. But if anyone watching has any ideas for how I should improve my channel, or maybe just what you would like to see in my channel, let me know, because I'm down to experiment some going into this season. There was another example where I delayed my death and penance and had 2 torments in a row with 2 pets out. So that's technically 4 torments? Hard to say. 3 torments? Yep, so I put dots on the big ones. Get my first penance out early. Drop my Holy Nova as I move. And I feel like when you play your evangelism right, a lot of your radiances become instant cast. And you might also notice here, I have disabled all combat text. So that's offensive and defensive, so like the yellow and the green combat text. I don't think it adds much. I actually think it's quite a distractor. So that is something I would consider you to, or urge you to consider in your own gameplay. I think it cleans up the screen a lot, helps you see what's going on, and it helps you make the right decisions. Okay, I'm giving that guy a sword, telling him I have PI. I also was never really good at playing PI with Weigars, so it's been a struggle of mine to make sure I played on cooldown. It is kind of different not being able to track people's spells to be able to time it. I think that'll be a nice advantage of playing in Discord with your team. But this was an example where I led with my evangelism to get my free pet out. Delayed my death and penance for those torments and recovered from that slam fully. And I'm also not quite used to the combat timer just yet. I also think I heard that they're making changes to that. Mainly that so you can blacklist spells. So I think one of the strongest things you can do as a healer, and I encourage anyone to do this in the future as long as it comes back, is to customize every fight's list of spells. So like for this fight, you know, I would say the only spell you really need to track is the AoE group damage, and that's because that is where you want to put your heals. And it's it's kind of like easier in my opinion, instead of having to like look at the cooldown manager and determine first, oh, is this spell that's coming up the right one or not? I'd rather only show one spell and just know where we are in the fight because of that. Okay, so here goes my second evangelism. Playing my death early for the torment. Backloading my death and penance. Now we get a dance. And yeah, the biggest thing I can encourage you to do if you're playing Voidweaver is just play that rift on cooldown. It is major. Here goes my second round of PIs. Backloaded my death and penance. And the real beauty comes in when you have like Lust and PI, because generally you only get one torment from the Mind Blast. Its cooldown is too long. But with enough haste, you can get an extra torment when your Mind Blast resets. So it's something to look out for. You get extra torments that way. One way you can min-max this build. I'm not sure if we get an example of that, but if you play the spec any, you'll understand. Here comes our free pet. We're in execute range, so I'm really trying to favor death first, and it was a miss. So I really would like them to increase that. Obviously, I would like them to increase that proc chance. There was an example, you might have heard it. But if you're playing the Rift, you still need to be in good practice of being able to force collapse it on command. So you can do a macro, I believe it's cancel aura in Tropic Rift, and you can cancel it on command rather than having it float there in the ether after the boss dies. So I send it even though I know the boss is going to die, collapse it just for the damage grab. Okay, so here what I did just then was I set my focus early. Getting a couple dots out. Shielded the person being jumped. Opening with the evangelism for the damage. The evangelism gets a free pet. I'm not sure if I've stated that, but I think you can tell by now. That is a way to get a free proc. I missed the extra torments though. Oh, and I have PI. I hope I didn't have PI at the start of this fight. And there was another force collapse. Tormented those guys and spread the dots. Okay, I think at this point I see I have PI, but I spent it. I was hoping we would go bigger, but Giga Chased, our tank, does not go big. Here comes our free pet. Death, then penance, and I got a free proc that time, so we had 2 pets tormenting. And it's really nice, I think, you know, so obviously the Rift gives healing, but when you proc these pets after the Rift, I kind of just look at it as it's an extension on our damage window, our healing window. Okay. Let's see what I do. Evangelism is coming up. Yep, played it. Put my death early, got no proc. Something you can always do too with your penance. You might have noticed there you can replay it, but I look to penance the mob that is dying, because I essentially... Oh wow. I essentially look at it as we're about to lose this dot in the field. So if I see a mob that's dying, I like to penance it and spread the value of its dots, you know, to mobs that are alive. So I definitely thought I was out of that, but it looked like it killed 3 of us. So that's crazy. I guess we suck. Okay, this is always a good time to kind of scan what buffs you have. Looks like I have PI in 10 seconds. Evangelism in 30. But those are kind of the only 2 spells I'm tracking. Okay, we're all atoned. I have PI. And being that dots are such an important part of our book right now, this is a large pull and I'm giving it a lot of dots. Let's see. PI is out. I'm targeted. Went ahead and used my defensive, which is Desperate Prayer. Oh yeah, I remember that. That was really unfortunate because this is a major pull and I had all spells. So there goes my damage parse. But that happens sometimes. All you can do is get back up and keep going. And I think I was a little irked that that happened. So I took a res when, you know, arguably that probably wasn't the best play for the group's sake. It doesn't affect us though. But so one thing I'm not super attuned to yet is where to place our fears. So it is a talent now for us, and I am taking the talent, so I should be playing fear. But I used to track our fear opportunities through weak auras. We don't need to state again that those are gone. But I'm still learning where to place my fears, so stay tuned for that. But I think the reason I'm talking about fears here is that could have saved me if I fear bombed that group. We open with the evangelism just for the uptime and for the damage. Okay, so checking the combat timer. We have the fissure coming up. That is a really nice place to have heals. And if you ever picked with these bombs, it's a great place for your defensives. So that was my Fade and Desperate Prayer. And something I've always done and still do is I have a macro that plays Fade and Desperate Prayer at the same time. But I also have a keybind just to play Fade on its own. So in a case like that, it's kind of nice. And being that they have very different cooldowns from one another, once they stagger their cooldown, essentially I can play my defensives with one button. Okay, here comes Mana Bombs. I just paints up myself because I don't want to die again. Good thing too. Torments at the end for a little bit extended healing. Here goes an evangelism. For some reason I clicked my death. I was probably scratching my head or something. Two pets out tormenting at once for those last 2 torments. Okay, so we're in the range of execute. Proc to free pet, which is nice. Let's see, now we have a free pet out. Death first, got a free pet, then the penance. Okay, let's see. So you can't play death too early, so I delay it by a couple of Void Blasts. Okay, not a problem. Can't believe I died on that big trash pull. What a bummer. have evangelism. Let's see. Yep. So I like playing evangelism after my rift in that free proc window. You get a lot of value that way, but also there's potential to lose value if you don't just play it at the start of a pull. Yeah, bummer. So I don't know if you're watching like exactly what I was watching, but I played my penance, then my death, where death then penance is a little bit more ideal. And what happened is I procced my free pet from the death, but my penance was already spent, so I lost that torment. Happens to me quite a bit. But sometimes like the timing of things is like, it's better to go ahead and play the death if there's an execute to grab. Or just go ahead and, it's, sometimes you have to like cut your losses. Okay, so these guys, the mechanics have changed and they do group-wide AoE. So arguably this would be a good place for barrier. I think that's one spell I'm not playing too well yet because I don't know these cadences. I'm also just trying to play very aggressively here with my DPS. But it's nice too with these free pets off of death because you can get a nice little burst of damage at the end of a pull if you're lucky without playing your rift. Okay, we have evangelism, rift, penance, death. And I think this is a scenario where I radiance myself. Yeah. I think everyone had range of the tank, but I know I had range of everyone, so I switched it up and played radiance on myself. Desperate prayer. And so I think one of the most important parts of playing Voidweaver is making sure you get your 3 Void Blast during its duration. Notice how you extend its duration by 3 points. You lose a lot of potential if it's not out for its full duration. So I'm noticing it's pretty easy to get those 3 Void Blasts without even thinking about it, but it's not foolproof, and I think that might have been a case where I did not get my 3 Void Blasts. Okay, so I'm opening with the Rift, as always. Rift, Penance, Death, and then I Smite for my second Penance. Okay, it looks like we have Evangelism coming up. I'm likely to play it during my free pet window, so let's see. Yep, so my free pet's out, then I Evangelism, and I get a lot of value that way. I think we'll also have here, I should be able to get 2 Torments from Mind Blast, so let's see. Yeah, with all this haste, so I have a free pet, Mind Blast, Penance. So generally you only get 1 Torment from your Mind Blast because of the timing, but with enough haste, you can get an extra Torment from your Mind Blast. Cast Fade before it expired on me. Looks like I was meleeing. Okay, here's PI. Let's see how well I play it. Perfect. I like having a little bit of oomph from our Shadow or Death. Who's to say if it's worth it, though? But I am having fun with it. Uh-oh. Yeah, I lost some value on the Rift there. I think I only got 2 smites. Evangelism. Okay, let's see. We're in execute range, so it's nice when you're in execute range. I didn't do it. You can lead with your death. Yeah, that is best practice, but that is not what I did. Collapse my rift early for the damage, and boss down. So pretty smooth queue overall. I would say Algeth'ar's is probably one of the easier ones. I think it's always been one of the easier ones, but I think it was a good example to kind of dip my toe back into the YouTube realm, doing a key that's easier that people are familiar with, just so I can talk about my ideas and reintroduce myself to the scene. But looking at the damage overall, I was at 43,000 K. So what is that? 4 million? I don't know what that means. But I have compared that to some other YouTubers, and healers are nowhere near that range. So I think we're doing something good with Voidweaver. But, you know, if you were to take a step back from that and look at the percentage I'm delivering compared to others, healers' damage is, at the end of the day, negligible. It doesn't matter if I do anything as far as damage, but it is something I still like to do. It's kind of fun for me. I'm not doing the hardest keys in the world, so I can get away with it with Voidweaver. But yeah, that number would have been higher, should have been higher if I didn't die that big pull. But yeah, I think that's kind of all I wanted to say for this video. I think you saw a lot of my ideas and what I'm doing thus far. If there's anything I didn't talk about, because I don't know, I think sometimes it's hard to teach things that are very familiar to you. You kind of have to have some input and modify on the fly. But here's a display of the damage. You might have to pause it, but you'll see the Shadow Word Pain is at the very top. So being that it is so weighted, that is why I'm having fun with expiation. Yeah, so with all that being said, thanks for tuning in, and until next time, Disc out.